Welcome back to Grinning Goats, Lightforge Podcast, Arena, Valuation, Stream, Pod, whatever. This is for Voyage to Sunken City, and I'm Odwicto.
This is Merps. We're doing the top neutral cards. We're doing neutrals first. These are important. They're neutral.
Top neutral cards. So I think to no one's surprise, we're just gonna rip off the band-aid, start it off with the thing that we've been talking about. We talked about this in a previous Lightforge. This is gonna be the number one card in the set, even before we saw the other cards, because it's so good. And it is Gangplank Diver. Gangplank Diver is a 5-mana 6/4 pirate, dormant for 1 turn, rush, immune while attacking.
So this comes in at an A plus. If you say this is an S, well, I'm with you. I actually argued it for it to be an S. I don't think it really matters so much. So if you remember on the old scale, for those of you who have seen with your eyes this fabled light, forged tier list that two random losers used to have, you're essentially arguing the difference between is it like a 250? Is it a 300 plus? You're within that category. So I don't know. I argued it for it to be an S. We landed on A plus. It's okay. But let's just talk about
based on in the current standard meta, the upcoming standard meta. So the last 3 sets, the cards that existed that were S were Watchpost, which is common and it was nerfed and it was banned. It was Scorpid, which we have since reclassified as an S. That is still around. Not in this upcoming meta, but they have never banned it, and it was the bane of Arena for the longest time. Battlemaster at A tier was nerfed. And we had 2 A tier, and then there were some epic cards, right? And even an epic S tier, which was the previous banning, is Abominable Lieutenant. That was an epic card, and it was still banned for being S tier. So S tiers get kind of an auto ban, but A tiers do not. Some of them get banned, some of them do not get banned. And this is an A plus tier, and so it's kind of straddling that area. And there's just barely any A tier cards that are common and in the arena. And the ones that exist are all problematic and ruin the arena. So at A plus tier, this should really get banned. So we are not, I thought this was going to come in at an S tier card as well, but it actually came in at an A plus tier. Whatever. This is Knight Captain is B plus. A should not exist as a common neutral. A plus should really not exist.
Yeah, look. Once again, I think some people will be like, "Oh, it's an S or whatever." Sure, it's straddling the line. At the end of the day, I didn't care so much about it. I think the discussion is more important than the actual score. We've talked about it, and if you haven't heard us talk about it for 30 minutes straight on one of the previous podcasts, this is just problematic, such that when you drop it dormant, you can't get rid of it. It rushes, and it basically always has Divine Shield on every single turn in which it is attacking. It automatically forces removal, and after it has already gotten some value, and if the response is, well, just don't play anything forehead, that's kind of tough in the arena. You can't really do that, so it's going to get some sort of value, and then if you don't have an answer in your hand, you just automatically lose. A lot of the cards that were banned have this characteristic. So if you remember Ramming Mount, which was the Hunter mount that gave this effect, right? It buffed and it gave immune while attacking. People thought it was very toxic. Now, that came out earlier. If you remember Watchpost, part of the reason it was banned was just have enough stuff on the board to deal with it when it comes out as a 3/5 on turn 3. Just do that. Or just have spells. Just have tons of spells, right? It's tough. It's really tough. For this, it's just just have 4 damage in your hand, and then after it's gotten value, just puts you in a really tough spot. And then, of course, if you don't have it at all, you lose because it just keeps on attacking. What are you gonna do? Not play minions? Play Or some people just have in mind like their hand is going to be a perfect counter of all small things, right? It's like, oh, just play all of these 1/1s or something. It just doesn't happen. This card boxes you in way too much. And for that reason, I hope that they ban it. So once again, A plus or S, I don't know. It's the difference between probably in like 10 or 20 points sometimes on the old scale when you're already talking about like a 260, 270 card.
Yeah, it
Something like that.
really it's
I don't
not
know.
that big of a deal whether it's an A plus or an S. That's why I listed all of the cards. Those were literally all the cards in the last Hearthstone year that we rate the neutral cards that we rated A or above. So once again, it's literally just Battlemaster that was A and Abominable. And Spammy. Primordial Protector and South Sea Scoundrel were low A's. This is A plus. This is much better than Primordial Protector or South Sea Scoundrel. Spammy was just an A, not an A plus. And Battlemaster got nerfed. Abominable, oh, that was an S. But that's it. I'm not like giving examples here. I'm listing every single neutral card that they published that was in the A range. These cards just they don't really happen. And if you are watching this video rather than listening to this on a podcast or watching this live, you will know that the video is titled Top 5. And I also previewed this in the previous part of the podcast that there was going to be a top 5. All top 5 are in the A or A plus range. So this is not a power creep in that. I mean, we do have A cards that exist, right? Spammy may be an epic, but it is still around. Scorpid is an S, and it hasn't been in the meta for a long time, but it was never banned. So it's not that they don't exist, but they almost never exist. And the vast majority of these, especially when they are common and neutral, they get banned. And I think that's what's going to happen with Gangplank Diver too. That's why we did 30 minutes on this in a previous podcast. Merps just did a short overview here, but none of that's that important because this card's going to get banned. It's going to get banned in the next week or 2 weeks, whenever they, decide the first round of bannings, because the win rates of this card is just going to be absolutely absurd. It's not a hard to use card. It's not a card in which good players are really good with it and bad players are not that good with it. It's not even a card that the kinds that we really hate, where like bad players are better with it and good players are worse with it because it's so much RNG or anything. No, this is just a solid standard card that has way too much stats.
So I want to make this clear because I'm looking at chat right now, and it seems like there might be a misunderstanding of some sort. When it says dormant for 1 turn, you can use it on the next turn.
Yep.
You know how minions have summoning sickness, right? Such that unless it has rush, or charge, and I understand this has rush. But what it really means is that just think of this as a minion with summoning sickness, except it can't possibly die. And then, of course, some people will think of a way that it can die, but it can't possibly die until the next turn. So that's one way to think of it, because I have read that in other places as well. People look at it as dormant for 1 turn, and they think of it as almost like dormant for 2 turns.
No, it's dormant for 1 turn rush, which means it's stealth. It's stealth, except there's no way to remove it.
It's super stealth,
yeah.
right. Think of it as super stealth.
But you can't not attack face the next turn. It is rush, not charge. So it is like super stealth, but there is a drawback. You cannot go face with it the next turn. You can go face with it, 1 turn after. And I was asking you this because you were trying to fight for the S on this. I was like, how often do you think this will survive? Not the first turn, right? The first turn 100% survives because you can't possibly remove it because it's dormant. But the second turn, on your turn, it's not going to die because it's immune while attacking. So there's no way you can kill it off even, unless you sacrifice it or something. It's not even going to get hurt. But then on your opponent's next turn, after you've already removed something, what do you think the percent chance that you'll get it back in order to attack again is? And Merps, you said 75%, and I said 66%. But that's how high And this is, without opponents doing crazy stuff. Like, if opponent is going to, I don't know, use an assassinate on the Gangplank Diver after the Gangplank Diver has already removed your opponent's 5-drop, fine, right? Like, it's gone 2 for 1 and taken 10 mana from 5 mana. Like, it's earned its A plus or S tier status at that point. I just mean to be able to even remotely efficiently remove it or trade stuff on the board or like use like a removal, right? That is not strictly hard. And those were the numbers that we're kind of working with here, and that's Gangplank Diver. It's not that easy to deal 4 damage when you just suffered 6 damage of extra tempo on the board lost while your opponent had a full turn if you're on the receiving end of the Gangplank Diver.
Yeah, I think people just always overestimate the answers they'll have in their hand. Now, Hearthstone in 2022 is a lot of initiative. It's a lot of spells. It's a lot of things. But you won't always have that. It won't. It also won't always be perfect. And here's the thing. I think you guys have experienced this while playing. Sometimes, in order to kill off something like we don't have the divers in yet, but sometimes in order to kill off the divers, or I think a good example, in order to kill off a corporal, right? You have to be really inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to just kill the corporal off, and you hang a lot of mana. You can't play this really good minion that you want to play because you're like, well, the corporal is a little bit too dangerous. And then because of that, you might end up losing. So that's one of the problems with the Gangplank Diver as well. Sometimes you'll lose by killing it because even if you don't kill it, you lose. And by killing it, even inefficiently, you have lost because of that. A lot of times you won't even associate it with that. It's like, oh, I didn't lose because of the Gangplank Diver. I killed it on the very next turn that I could, right? But no, like, because you had an inefficient turn, they got a little bit more damage.
5 mana and a card at that point. On turn 5, you've lost 5 mana. That means you're 5 mana behind and a card behind on turn 5 from your opponent playing this one card that is not situational at all in any situation whatsoever. They just have to have it by turn 5 or even later on, right? It's the same idea. The only way to actually succeed against this card is to not have minions or to have something like a righteous protector, right? Or like an Annoyotron up, and then your Gangplank Diver comes out and is like, oh, I guess I have to hit into the 1 mana, the 1 attack taunt, and then I don't get a lot of value, and then I get killed the turn after, right? So it's not that it's literally impossible to set stuff up around it. It's that in the arena where you don't know what cards you have and you don't have the right cards most often, you're going to be able to deal with it on a 1-for-1 basis maybe 5 to 10% of the time. And the rest of the time, it's already gotten value. People focus on how to remove it after, it pops out. And that's good. That's what you should be focused on. When you're playing, that should be your strategy. But at that point, you're already down big. That's why this card is so good. And it's not I comboed it with something. It's not my opponent did this. It's not I had something and then I buffed it or whatever. Nothing. There's 0 requirements to this card. This card just gets played whenever you have 5 mana or more and it gets into your hand. This card comes down.
And then, of course, I make this point all the time, but I feel like for a card like this, a card that we want for it to be banned, and I think with good reason, there's always a difference between how toxic or oppressive or how feels bad a card is versus how strong it is. So I think the best example of one that is pretty disconnected is Mind Control Tech. If you guys remember, that was the 3 mana 3/3. If your opponent controls 4 or more minions, just steal one of them at random. So what's the average power of a Mind Control Tech? It's not high. Like, it's not a on average good card, but it was banned for a reason. And it's like, if we had it today, would people be happy? No. Like, it not only has that swing, you always have to think about it. It prevents people from playing cards, which is like, hey, we should encourage. And I know it's like Twisting Nether, like Plague of Death. All of these things are like, yes, they discourage playing cards as well, but it's kind of different, right? So I think MCT is a good example of a card that was just really toxic for the arena, but wasn't too strong.
Are you saying this one's like MCT or?
Oh no. I'm saying that like it's like we should not just have a cutoff, right? Like anywhere to be like, okay, this is exactly where the cutoff is. Here's where like it needs to be banned. Here's where it doesn't need to be banned.
Oh, I you totally could also just disagree. I think there should be a cutoff because at a certain point, the power level is just too high and you mess with the fundamentals of arena. I think there should be another criteria to ban. Like, that's why Flappy Bird is banned. That's why MCT is banned. But I do think that one of the criteria for banning is that it is just too powerful. And that line should be drawn between B plus and A.
Okay, so you think there should be another one. So if you have a car that is just like, if you have this car in your deck at the beginning of the game, flip a coin, and then it's like, determine the winner, that like make games into a pure coin flip. It's like, is it good? No, especially if you're a good player.
Right. But I mean, that's what you're talking about with like the MCT or a Flappy Bird. Neither of which are particularly great cards, but they should be banned because they make the game terrible. Mech Engineer, even like we talk about it before.
Okay, can we call it as Deep Run Engineer?
Mech Engineer. It's the engineer that discovers mechs. All right, no one knows Deep Run. Deep Run's been banned.
Nobody knows Mech Engineer.
It's the engineer of
trying to call it by the official name.
Ugh. So the Mech Engineer, the Deep Run engineer that discovers the mechs, is an example. That card is not an A tier card back then, even. But it was banned. Why was it banned? Because it did this ridiculous jackpot stuff that made every game kind of like, terrible feeling to play. So yeah, those cards should be banned, but that's a totally different reason, right? We're like, and for that reason, this card should be banned too. So this card hits it on both ways, but this card should also be banned because it's just simply too powerful. This isn't one of those cards where it's like it's a low A, right? Like you can argue that it's a B plus, or like maybe we're not doing the math super precisely, which we're not because we don't have an algorithm. So like maybe it's secretly a B plus and not an A, and we just put it as a low A. Like whatever, fine. This is like an A plus, which means it's in the top 25% of A tier cards. Like we're not. And Merce wants it to be an S tier card. Like this is. It's nowhere close to the line of which it doesn't upset the entire balance, regardless of whether it makes people feel bad or not. On top of that, it's going to make people feel bad because it's also a Flappy Bird card. So it's just hitting it at both angles of just like terribleness. Like one of the things is this is the card that was nerfed, Battle Master. That was an A tier card, and we called it as A tier, and a lot of people were like, well, what happened? It came into the arena, it had a really high win rate for quite a high percentage of decks and the good players, and then it got nerfed because it was just super feel bad. Not for arena necessarily, but even in constructed it was super feel bad. And it was a neutral card, so it was in all sorts of different things. Like, you upset fundamental parts of the game by having cards that are too good, regardless of anything else. And then on top of that, it feels bad in certain ways. So I think Gangplank Diver is like a better, more problematic version of Battlemaster. If you're looking at recent examples you can compare this to. Because we really don't have a lot of common neutrals that are in the A range. We have common neutrals that are in the S range, and they get banned immediately, except Scorpid. So this one also needs to be banned immediately, and I think it will be banned. Why do I think it will be banned? Because Abominable Lieutenant was the same frickin' thing. Abominable Lieutenant was and that's the most recently banned card, and it is a S tier card. It wasn't a high S tier card, it was a low S tier card. It was arguably an A plus tier card, and it was epic on top of that, and it still got banned. And it was 8 mana, this is 5 mana. So if you're going to ban Abominable Lieutenant, you really need to ban Gangplank Diver. That's why I don't think I really have no doubts that this card is going to get banned in like 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. We've talked enough about this. Okay. Everybody's talked enough about this.
So this is the banned card. Now, this is not the only A+ card. There are 2 more A plus cards in this set. That's why this is called top 5. This is not called top 1 and then 4 other cards that are second fiddle. Gangplank Diver may be the most problematic, most feel-bad, and the common neutral of the set. But there are 2 more cards that are A plus tier that are neutral in this upcoming expansion. So we're going to talk about one of them right now. The next one we're going to talk about is going to be... Okay. We've also talked about this a little before, but it's going to be an epic card, and it is School Teacher. School Teacher is a 4-mana 5/4 Naga. Battle Cry. Add a 1/1 Nagaling to your hand. Discover a spell that costs 3 or less to teach it. So, it's an on-curve 4-drop. It adds a 1-mana 1/1 into your hand. That's another Naga. And that has a free Battle Cry of a discovered Battle Cry that you picked beforehand, and you can also play on the same turn if you want to have 5 mana instead of 4, and it will do whatever spell that is.
I don't know why they couldn't take a single stat away, or the fact that you have 2 Nagas in your hand. There's Naga synergies, by the way. So having 2 Nagas counts for something, more so in some classes rather than others. You can delay it, you can play it right away. Man, it's just really good. We talked about this before as well. Spells are just very good now. And this will differ from expansion to expansion, as in, rotation to rotation. But there are some really good spells, and even just bad ones. Well, it doesn't really matter. You can get reductions on quote bad 2 or 3 mana spells, and they become quite good as just 1 mana. So it's just insane. It's absolutely insane. I don't understand how this wasn't like a 4 mana 4/4 to maybe take something away from it.
I thought this was a 5 mana 5/4.
Well, you would, but it's
and
not.
I was like, oh, this is like going to be an A tier card. Like, it's a really good card. It's an epic card. It's one of the top epic cards. Okay. And then on the podcast, like a couple weeks ago when this was revealed, you were like, it's 4 mana. I was like, what? Yeah, it's 5 mana. And you're like, no. It's on curve. I'm like, it's not on curve. No, it's on curve. It's a 4 mana 5/4 that does this.
No, you take absolutely nothing away. You add 2 tags, minions with tags, into your hand. It's just pure positive. So... Yeah. This is great. And for some classes, you could say it is an S if you just look at the spells that are available. Yeah. This is just an average kind of thing. So, we're not jumping into certain classes. I haven't looked super carefully at, maybe there's one class that stands out in particular that's like, wait, it's actually super busted. So sure. But for us, just looking at it generally, it's an A+.
Yeah, and so we wanted to ban the other A+ card. In fact, we were certain that Gangplank Diver was going to get banned. I mean, not like 100% certain, but like I think I have a 75% plus certainty that, I mean, I guess it's not certain, a 75% plus probability that Gangplank Diver will be banned. You never know, right? They could always go Scorpion with it, but that one's so feel bad that I think that they would. This one is a little less feel bad. Right? It's a little delayed. You're casting spells. It's looking a lot more like Scorpid than it's looking like Gangplank or, some of the other banned cards like Battlemaster or Watchpost or Abominable. It's not as feel bad. So it's as powerful as Gangplank or like very similar. But I'm not 100% sure it's banned. And what makes me really think this is not going to get banned is the fact that it is an epic card. And we have seen one epic card get banned, and that is Abominable Lieutenant, which just got banned, but that was an S tier card. This one, and that was feels bad. So, do I think the School Teacher should be banned? Yes, it is an A+ card. It is way too powerful. It is past the line. I think A tier cards for Epic is probably okay if they, keep the Epic bug fixed, but A+ gets really dicey. But I don't think it's the end of the world if they don't ban this one. even though it's the same power level as Diver, because it will show up a quarter of the frequency that Diver does. Or, sorry, maybe not a quarter, maybe like a third. I forget what the exact percentage is, and it differs every single rotation. Like, you just have to think about it in terms of how diverse your games are and how same everything is, right? The problem with neutrals and why you can't have neutrals be A tier or S tier, well, class cards can be A tier at least. I would still object to S tier class cards, but they are at S tier sometimes. The reason for that is because you only see classes sometimes, right? There are 10 classes. You face like a variety of classes. Usually there's a handful, like at least 2 classes, sometimes up to like 4 or 5 classes at the top that you see in a rotation, even when you get to the high win rates. And so you just don't get hammered by these same cards. With neutrals, you have that problem. But with epic neutrals, that problem kind of disappears again. Like the top common class card of the top class is seen more often than the top epic neutral when you're talking about what you're facing. So I can see them not banning this, and I can see the argument for saying that epics are okay to be even A plus. But I'm glad they drew the line at S tier with Abominable Lieutenant. This one I would still want banned, but I am much less certain that it'll get banned. I think maybe 25% chance this one gets banned.
Yeah, I think a lot of what gets banned comes down to, and Blizzard has talked about, they care how people feel, right, when a card is played, and that's I think predominantly the reason why MCT eventually got banned. But I think part of the reason why Scorpid will never get banned is, and this won't get banned, is that whenever you're assigning blame, it's much easier to assign blame to the cycle of hatred that was discovered by Scorpid instead of the Scorpid itself.
Yep.
Here, for example, let's say you play a school teacher. Let's say in future, for now, you don't have it, but like if the studies were in, right, and then you play the Nagaling, and then you play like Draconic Studies, and Draconic Studies then discovers like the Ysera. What are you going to blame? You're probably like, at least part of your mind is going to be like, oh, stupid Ysera from Draconic Studies, right? Which is true. Now we're getting even more disconnected there. It all started with the school teacher that allowed you to do something like that. But for a lot of players, what's the last thing you see? Them playing Ysera, and then Ysera Awakens and all that stuff. And then they can take it one step back. And it's like, if, it was because of stupid Draconic Studies, which is stupid. I agree with you there. Ysera is also stupid. School teachers what started all of the stupidity, just like Scorpid started all the stupidity with the cycle of hatred, in that meta in which like Demon Hunters didn't exactly have that many spells, so them getting expendable performers or cycle of hatred with Scorpid was pretty damn high. So yeah, I don't think this will get banned for that reason, even though it is an incredibly powerful card.
Yep. Okay, so after this, we have our third A plus card. So we're arranging these A plus cards in likelihood to be banned. This one, there's pretty much no chance it's going to be banned. It might. I'm not going to say never, but it's kind of, you'll see. So the third card that is neutral and A plus. By the way, you've seen, like, this is another reason why I gave the full list of A and S tier cards in previous metas, because there are so few A and S tier cards in neutrals in almost any set. And in this set, there are 5 A and A plus tier cards, including 3 A plus tier cards. Like, the consistency of the power level has really just moved up. Now, none of these are S tier cards, or I guess Gangplank wants to be an S tier card, but it would be like very close, right? So these are not like the most powerful cards, but they're just problematic in the meta. And we're really getting a lot of them. So this next card is, and I have to find it. Why can't I find it? The next card is Pufferfist.
Pufferfist.
Huh?
It's like Pufferfish.
Sorry.
But it's a Pufferfist. Because it's punching you with Pufferfish. Wait, what do you mean you can't find it? It's a 3-mana card.
There we go. Well, because I was looking for a fish.
Okay,
but
why
it's
can't
not
you
a
just read the
fish.
names? Why can't you just read?
I
Is this how
wanted
you
to,
identify
guys.
cards just by looking at pictures?
Yeah,
There's no way. There's no way.
but
There's
like
no way.
that's why they have pictures so you can see it and look. Like I don't see you and then think like, oh, I'm gonna read the name tag. Like I know you're Merps, so when I see you, it's Merps.
Okay, right. But for things that you don't know
But
and
I
that have
thought
a
I knew.
name
That's the
and that have a
difference. Now I also read the name wrong, so I thought it was a
right
putterfish, but it's actually a puffer
or
fist. So it's
okay,
a
okay.
gobliny,
This is too.
not murlocky, what? A naga? Is that a
Oh,
naga?
okay.
It's some
Stop.
dude with two like blowfish as fists. That's the image.
Those are the puffer fish that
Oh.
they are using as fists. Therefore, puffer fist.
Okay. So puffer fist. I mean, it was confusing. I thought it was putterfish. If you thought it was putterfish, you'd be confused too. That's just a fact. Anyway, this guy's a pirate, by the way. I don't know why he's not a naga. He's just a pirate underwater with blowfish as fists. It's a 3-mana 3/4, so it's super on curve. And the description, the ability reads: after your hero attacks, deal 1 damage to all enemies. That includes your opponent's face.
It includes face. So, first of all, this is an A plus card, but not for all classes. Let's do a breakdown of our scoring system and talk about sort of how it fits, because it is an A plus card for demon hunters and rogues. I think that is pretty self-explanatory. They have the easiest access to, be able to hit whatever using their face because of the cheap hero power or the 2 charge dagger. It is an A tier card for druids. It's just going to be harder, right? Druids actually have to spend more to attack less. It's approximately a B plus tier card for paladins, shamans, hunters, and warriors. Although warriors, it might be lower than that, like because I think you did the calculation with old assumptions.
No. It's the same.
Yeah, and then it is a D plus card, as in a 3-mana 3/4, which is a D plus, like a very high D plus, for mages, priests, and warlocks. We're assuming you are getting no weapons there. So once again, we're putting this. This is a plus card, but for demon hunters and rogues. And let's just talk about it. Like this effect persists, right? This isn't sort of like a battle cry. If your hero attack this turn, deal 1 damage to all enemies. You can snowball. You can absolutely win the game with this 1 card on turn 3. This is huge snowball potential, and if not snowball potential, you can get 1 turn out of it in which, it's like a better bunker a lot of the times. And then you can keep getting that bunker sergeant effect. Also, yeah, it goes face. I hate something like this.
Yeah.
I really hate this. So if you guys remember, Hench Clan Thug was a previous 3-drop neutral that everybody had access to as a 3-mana 3/3. After your hero attacks, gain +1/+1. And people just thought of it as a rogue, half druid class card, right? People thought of it as that. And there it was like pretty good. Like if you got it as rogue, it was good. Remember, Hench Clan Thug was like old Hearthstone, where you get that +1/+1, and you have like a turn 3, 4/4. Man, that was
very
great.
happy.
I'm very happy. So good. It could keep growing. You could keep daggering. Really nice. But even then, it was just sort of like, oh man. Also, remember, this is back when rogues were good. Some of you guys might not remember this. Rogues used to be consistently good.
They were like paladins.
Not like they are now. But even back then, it felt kind of bad. And that was one in which it only sometimes majorly impacted games, even when you were a rogue. With Pufferfist, this effect by itself is going to win quite a few games as Demon Hunter and Rogue. Now, I don't know exactly how good those classes are going to be because, I don't know. There's too many factors now. But just the fact that this is in, you draft one of these, congrats, you have gotten a super duper premium card. You know, it's like we put this the same as school teacher, we put this the same as diver, and it just really sucks because essentially what you're saying is whenever this pops up, when you're a mage, mages suck right now, by the way. So if it pops up as a mage, you're like, oh crud, I basically just got a working greaser, right? It's actually kind of the same as a working greaser now, like
It's
improved
not a
working
Worgen
greaser.
Greaser. It's still a spider tank. All right,
Yeah.
let's not trash this card so
Well,
much.
no,
It's
no, working
still a
greaser is
spider tank.
it got buffed. It got buffed.
Wait,
Okay,
Worgen Greaser got buffed?
it's a 6/4 now. Oh god, you have not been keeping up. But yeah, you know, you have got. Let's not say it's a spider tank because spider tank is a mech, and mechs are actually good for mages. So let's not call it that. Okay, spider tanks are good for mage now, but man, that feels bad. As a rogue, you're getting something that is to the effect of a school teacher, to the effect of a diver, and I would say sometimes better because, this, if you need it, you can keep snowballing off of it. It's very early on. You can draw it as a pirate as well, which is like relevant for rogues. Um, I hate the fact that this is so different for different classes. I just don't like this sort of design for something like
Yeah.
Arena.
Yeah. These kind of persistent effects, when it comes to being in the form of removals, are very bad. Even like you see us complain so much about Gangplank Diver, and that persistent effect isn't even removals. That persistent effect is the equivalent of like buffing the Gangplank Diver's health every turn, as long as it attacks something on the board, right? Like giving it a divine shield every turn if it attacks something on the board. But this goes one step further and is an actual removal. And even worse, it's a removal when you are using another removal, which is your face, to attack something. So if you have the weapon, for example, even in the B plus rated classes like a paladin, a shaman, or a warrior or whatever, if you have the weapon to go with it, then you're just like destroying everything and just win the game from there on. And even if you don't have the weapon for rogue and demon hunter, for effectively 1 mana, you are getting a mini swipe every single turn, including the turn that it comes out. Like, it's just super ridiculous. And that is not fun to face, and that is not fun to play, really. Maybe it's fun to play the first couple times, but it'll get old fast. Now, I want to... So the reason why this card I don't think is going to get banned is because it's only A plus for Demon Hunter and Rogue. It's only A for Druid. That means that only 1/3 of the classes is it in the A tier, which makes it kind of similar in terms of how often you're going to see it as like a tri-class card, right? So it's kind of like almost a class card. And yes, it's common, so it's not epic, but you're going to see it in the problematic range, in the AA plus range, about as often as you're going to see an actual epic card in that problematic range. And in the same way that I think excavation, that I think a school teacher is maybe 25% chance to get banned, this card, I'll also give it a 25% chance to get banned.
I think it's lower. I think it's lower.
Okay.
I can't see this one getting banned.
All right. Let's go with
yeah.
Okay. So let's go with like a 10% chance to get banned. The same
But
percent chance that they bring back Mech Engineer.
Especially because I think this is just one of the ones that they'll look at and say, we'll just adjust it if it's,
Wait, how will
if
they
it's
adjust
problematic. No. Like they'll look at it and be like, sorry, it's adjustable. Not that they will actually adjust it because they can't adjust it, but they'll be like, oh, this is like one that is like not universally kind of hated, so therefore it's adjustable. Like I think they're looking at a lot of things right now and they're like, oh, this is like adjustable. Not that they can adjust it or will, but it's about how they view it, right? And this one will be viewed as like, oh, it is adjustable, so therefore it can,
See, I don't know. I think the feel badness of this one is just so much worse than school teachers' feel badness, and they're like about the same. Like when you're looking at it from a my opponent has this card kind of category, it's very similar in terms of power level and percent chance that you'll see an opponent with the card. That I could see this one being banned, even if it's totally okay for all the classes not named Demon Hunter and Rogue. Especially because Demon Hunters are always good. unless they adjust against Demon Hunter, and they don't adjust anymore. So they're not adjusting against Demon Hunter, which means Demon Hunters are going to be at least okay, if not actively dominating. I think there's a chance for this to also get banned. Like, the fact that we're even talking about this, we've just talked about 3 cards that went from probably being banned to like has a chance of being banned, and this one also has a maybe small chance of being banned. It just tells you what you need to know about this set. Like, we're in the era of everything's kind of breaking arena now. Even the new arena. Remember, this set is this rotation is going to have 3 modern sets, 3 sets in standard out of the 5 sets that they have altogether.
Yeah. So I think you are like your percentages are definitely higher than mine. Here's mine. Do I think Diver is going to get banned? Yes, I think that is very likely. Do I think School Teacher is going to get banned? I'm going to say 0% chance.
Okay.
Like 0% chance. Do I think Pufferfist will get banned? I'll give that like a 5%, 10% maybe. But yeah, like I don't see School Teacher getting banned at all. Just at all. I do agree with your assessment. People will feel worse about Pufferfist than School Teacher. It's just the way people look at it, right? Because Pufferfist, it's very easy to connect the AoE to Pufferfist, and it's not.
And it happens again and again and again and again.
Like, and again.
That's the field badness of Gangplank too, right? Like, it just happens again and again and again and again, and you're like, what are we even doing? And why am I playing this game? They played 1 card at 1.
Yeah.
On turn
Once
3.
again, guys, we're talking about this as an A+. This is for rogues and demon hunters.
Yeah.
And then the bottom of it, this is a D+ card, as in just a 3 mana 3/4 for classes that don't have weapons at all.
Yeah.
So like,
but even if
mages, priests, and warlock.
Yeah, but even if you have some weapons, this is a B+ card. This is like Knight Captain levels. Like, if you're like a paladin or a shaman, it's still an insanely good card, even if you can only like trigger it once or twice sometimes. Like, that's just how powerful this ability is.
Because you could play it and then equip a weapon afterwards, and assuming it survives. So, okay, cool. We talked about our A+ cards. Should we go to our A's?
Let's go to our A cards. So the next card is a card that, unfortunately, I think has a 0% chance of getting banned, but it really should get banned. And this is going to go into my whole thing of some cards are just too powerful. So this is Mothership. Mothership is a 6 mana 5/4 mech rare card. It has Rush. 6 mana 5/4 Rush. Death Rattle, summon 2 random mechs that cost 3 mana or less.
Yeah. And this is a mech itself, and then it spawns mechs, so there's lots of mech things. I'm curious, because I would never ban this one. It is powerful. Yeah. I will tell you guys right now, I think Mothership is the sort of sleeper of the set. Not that people are rating it incorrectly, but I think that this is going to just be all over the meta. I think it's very meta defining. I look at it honestly as kind of a neutral Firelands Portal, and that's
great.
The
way to look at it.
It's cheaper than Firelands Portal. It has a tag. Are you going to get like the stats of Firelands Portal? You're gonna get close, actually. Yeah, almost. For 1 cheaper. And then plus, these are mechs, right? These are actually mechs. There's mech synergies and everything. This is really freaking good. Like, really, really good here. So I just don't see a lot of chatter about it. I think people like understand how good it is, but yeah, like, this is going to be huge in the meta. Also, if you think about it, the Diver comes out on 5. This can kill it on 6. I'm not saying that it's exactly what's going to happen, but it does help.
Yeah. This is just the card. It's just a bag of a ton of stats. Firelands Portal is the analogy to make here. And Firelands Portal is a good card, and it is a class card, and it is 7 mana. This one is 6 mana. It comes out 1 turn earlier and has almost as much stats as what you'll average for Firelands Portal. Very close. This also has the potential, it can't go face, but it has the chance to maybe get 2 kills, because the 5/4 is Rush. So you could, if someone has like a 2/4 taunt or something, you can hit him with this and then get another hit or force your opponent to remove it some other way. It is going to be very, very annoying. I don't mind the design of this card. I actually really like the design of the card. It's just too good. It's not like a low A either. It's like a solid mid A, which is why I'm saying it really should be banned. This is the classic example of a card that is just too good. It does not feel bad. It's not poorly designed or anything. I don't mind it as a good player or bad player, blah, blah, blah. But it's not going to actually get banned. And one of the reasons it's not going to get banned is because it doesn't feel bad. But the other reason is also that it's a rare. And so if it was a common, I think there would be a chance, of, even if it's a low chance, depending on what classes are good and whatnot, and how the speed of the meta actually is. But as a rare, I don't think you're going to see it everywhere. I don't think it's going to be as meta defining as you may think it's going to be, Merps. But it's a giant bag of stats that has 5 damage of initiative attached to it. Like you can't sleep on this card. And I agree. I think people are sleeping on it. I don't think people are, and I think people are misreading it. Like, I don't think people are giving it its full due. Like, they're saying, oh, it's a good card. It's a great card. This card may end up being, for many classes, the best, rare or common neutral that exists in the entire game in this upcoming rotation. It probably will be once they ban Gangplank Diver, and you are not one of the Pufferfist classes like Demon Hunter and Rogue. This is it. Because the other sets aren't coming in with big stuff that haven't been banned yet. Everything in the previous sets that were S tier were banned. So you have a Nerf Battlemaster, which is nowhere near this power level. You have those over here. You have Abominable is banned. You have Spammy, that's an epic. Some of these other ones that are new are epics. Like this is it. This is the best neutral card that is rare or common once they ban Gangplank. So yeah, I think people are sleeping on it. It is that good.
Yeah, very good. Okay. What's next? And yeah, 0% chance this gets banned. I also wouldn't ban it. I wouldn't ban this one. Like,
oof, it goes one over Knight Captain for me. Like, Knight Captain's the line. This is definitely over the line in terms of just pure power levels. And I think that they may ban it if its win rate is just too high.
I think that for something like this, it's something that is acceptable in 2022, right? What
if its win rate is above Knight Captain? Like 1% above Knight Captain?
It'll be fine. No, not fine. I don't love it, but no, I think with other assumptions being okay, I don't think it's bannable.
Okay. We'll see how annoying this gets when it's actually in the meta. But yeah.
But regardless, I think we both agree it won't be banned. Like,
I hope it'll be banned. I agree that I don't think there's a 0% chance of it being banned, because I think there is some percent chance, maybe 25, maybe 30% chance, that it has an insane win rate after or even before they ban Gangplank Diver.
I mean, I love it. I don't know about insane. Wait, what do you mean by insane?
I mean, like, what's the current? Hold on. Let me look at the current win rate for Knight Captain. Okay, current win rate for Knight Captain is 57%. Ysera is basically 60%. Mm-hmm. That's a 3% differential between an S tier card Ysera and Knight Captain, which is the line of okay. So if it is something like a 58% win rate, which it may well be, I think it could be on the chopping block. And if it's a 59% win rate, then it definitely will be like looking at the chopping block, because Blizzard cares about reactions, but they also care a lot about stats. And this is not one of those cards where you're like, oh, the good players will be able to make it, super good or whatever. This is something that everybody's going to get affected the same. It's just a bag of stats, and so it'll show up on the stats. And when it shows up on the stats, if it's going that way.
The good players summon 4/2s with Divine Shield. The bad players summon 1/1s.
Yes.
So, That's how you differentiate the good from the bad players.
Their stats may be full of good players then, compared to other cards for Blizzard. So it depends on how this card ends up. I'm not writing it off as absolutely impossible to be banned, but I do agree that it has a 5% chance of being banned or something.
Okay.
Also, it's entirely possible that they're just more ban happy with this. Like, I don't know what the philosophy is for this new team, but a new team is handling Arena. It's no longer Ixar. We know Ixar was against it. We don't know what the new people think. And the new people have Arena as a very small portion of what they're doing, but they still need to put some time and effort into it. And creating a better meta may be the way, one of the ways that they put their stamp on Arena. You don't know what's going to happen with the new dev team that's in charge of the Arena. They have been banning more frequently than they were before, so it'll also follow a trend. Although it would be going... I don't even think it's going higher than the trend, because, like I said, everything... This will be the best card in the game, in neutral, that is rare or common, outside of Scorpid, which is not in the meta, that is not banned, if this is not banned. And that is a fact. And so they may draw the line above this, but they may also draw the line below this. I don't think it's impossible for them to draw the line below Mothership. Depending on the stats, right?
Yep. Okay. Look, let's talk about the last card.
Last card in the top 5 to round it down. This is last, but certainly not least. I also need to change this, by the way. That's not a... So if you're watching this, I'm starting to write the ratings on here for the neutral cards. I'm not going to do it for class cards because each one's different, but for the neutral ones, we're now in the A zone. So the last card we talked about, it's an A tier card. It's not an A plus tier card. It's an A tier card. Now I've adjusted the text to match. So this final card is last but not least. In fact, it's arguably most. Like, I could see this being even more toxic than Gangplank Diver. And it's a card that was immediately picked up by everyone in the community as being a terrible, terrible card for Arena. It is Amalgam of the Deep, 2 mana, 2/3. It's an Amalgam, so it's all different tags. And its battle cry is, choose a friendly minion. Discover a minion of the same minion type. You have a dragon? This is Discover a Dragon. You have a mech? This is Discover a Mech, including Colossal cards. Yeah. Amalgam of the Deep.
Yeah, look, those are the two that you should be targeting. Now, if you're thinking, oh, I'm in a class in which the Colossal minion is a beast, there's a lot of those, by the way, I should discover a beast. There's a ton of beasts. There's a lot of beasts. Your chance for that is pretty low. If you have the opportunity to discover a dragon instead, yes, I understand you won't get your class Colossal minion. Just get the Onyxia. Just get the Ysera. Just get those instead. Beasts, on average, are not the best hit. The hit, as in your Colossal minion, is amazing. But there are so many beasts around.
The beast rate of getting your Colossal minion for non-hunter classes is something like less than 10%. And for hunters, it's like 5%. Although hunters have a couple of really insane beasts, so it's not just the same one. But overall, you're looking at a 10% rate to get a really good card. Whereas for dragons, you're looking at a 40% rate. So in general, you want to discover dragons. If you're paladin or mage, you can discover either dragons or mechs. You can open it up to mechs. If you are not one of those classes, you could try to discover a mech, but it's much worse than dragons then. Yes.
It's basically
still better than beasts.
Still better than beasts, right. So those are what you... Like, if you want a general rule, discover dragons, duh. And then if you're paladin and or mage, mechs are just as good, whatever, as dragons. And then I would just take the mech discover if you have it available. Like, if you're like, oh, should I take the mech discover or wait for a dragon discover? Just take the mech discover. It's really freaking good. Beasts are not great in general, even in classes in which the Colossal is a beast. That's the general rule for you guys.
Yeah. If you are Hunter, though, there are some like not S tier beasts that are still very good, and you may just like settle for it, especially if you're like winning or you have a good deck. You don't really need this to really pop off and win you the game. So there's a lot of flexibility to this. This is like for a card that's all about discovering and like high rolling the jackpot. There's a lot of skill to how to use this card because it's very complicated, and you have to have a lot of game knowledge of what is in the arena. But that being said, this is the definition of a jackpot discover card. Like, you're going to hit it or you're not going to hit it. You can set it up all right, but you're still only going to have a 40% chance to hit it at most. And if you don't hit it, it's, not that great. But if you do hit it, it's way better than an A tier card. Like, this card is A tier because it misses more often than it hits. Like, to get a truly, like, S tier or even A tier card. But when it hits, and it hits quite frequently, it's game over for your opponent. And you're going to suffer a lot from this because it doesn't matter how good of a player you are. If they, on turn 6, play a 4-mana card that is a mech or a dragon, and then play Amalgam the Deep, and then discover the correct card, then by turn 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever their, big their big S tier card is, you're just going to lose. So, on the bright side, it is epic. Which means you won't see it as often. And also, it does make it really awkward for your opponent, because if you have this card, it's so good, you never want to play this as a 2-drop, unless you just like don't have other mechs and dragons in your deck. Like you drafted this and you just couldn't manage to draft mechs and dragons. Like, unlikely, but fine. They're also adding a bunch more dragons into the core set. Not the best dragons, but you have like the Azure Drake that's coming back, buffed up. Primordial Drake is coming in. Scalebane is in. There's quite a few that's being added. So you'll see some just like neutral dragons in your decks that are like pretty good but not amazing. So yeah, this is Amalgam of the Deep, epic neutral. I don't know about how likely it is for this one to be banned. It potentially feels bad, but I think very low percent chance.
0% chance.
0% chance.
0% chance.
Very low percent, because you do have to set it up, and the win rates themselves are not going to be absurd on this card at all, because so many people will mess up what they're looking for, like which tribal tag they're looking for. They'll hold it in their hand too long, or they'll like play it too early, or they'll like it's just there's actually a good amount of skill in this card, so the stats won't match with how good it actually is.
All right, those are the cards. These are the top 5. Some of them you'll get pretty often. For example, the Diver, that's a common. Amalgam of the Deep is an epic. And assuming that the epic bug doesn't come back, epics are much more rare than commons. Wow. Amazing.
Yep. So once again, Barons has 3 cards, non-legendary cards, that are A tier or above. Stormwind had 1 card. Alteric had 2 cards. And now, in Sunken City, we have 5 cards that are A tier or above in neutral, non-legendary. So this is a set. This is a key set. This has as many relevant top tier cards as 2 of your other modern sets put together on average. This is insane. Now, this is why, like, you guys hear us do this every single expansion. We almost never call for banning more than 1 card. I can't remember the last time, but I don't know if we ever have called for banning more than 1 card. But that's because usually they don't they don't publish a whole bunch of ridiculous cards all at once. Here, none of these are the most ridiculous cards that they've ever published by a margin. None of them are S tier cards. But they're all problematic, and they should all be banned. I think Merps disagrees about Mothership.
I disagree, but yeah.
But we'll see what happens when the actual stats come in. If the stats aren't higher than Night Captain, then yeah, it's probably fine to be in the meta. But the more of these that Blizzard bans, the better the game is. That's just how it is. And no, this is not like the new power level, and we should just like get used to it. This is above the power level. we have not really changed our bands of what the power level is. And if you look at our good cards and normal cards and bad cards, the scale isn't really shifting that much from Alteric overall. It's just these top end cards are quite a bit more. Like you're going to feel it if they don't ban these cards in various ways. And if you're a good player, you'll identify where the problems are coming from, and these cards are going to be all the culprits. And even if you're not keeping a sharp eye on it, half of these are just like on their face, very annoying and feels bad.
Okay.
That's
it for this section.
That is it. Ooh, that was 1 hour talking about 5 cards. You guys think this will go 12 hours today?
It's not funny. We're ending this.
All right. That's it for us on the top 5 cards of the Voyage to the Sunken City. We'll come back after this with all the other good cards, the B tier cards, and there's plenty of them. This is going to be a good set, guys, in terms of high power levels.
Bye.
See ya.